1993 was a year of great success for video producer Tom McComas. At the time, his son Jeff was a very active toddler who would only sit still to watch his father edit train videos. In an email conversation I had with Tom, he explained, "My wife, Cheryl, said put something together for Jeff. Maybe he'll stop for a moment or two." Jeff liked animals, trains, upbeat music, and silly stuff, so that's what I put in the show. Jeff's show ran about 20 minutes and he just sat there. When it ended, he wanted to see it again. A short while later, Jeff's video was given the title of I Love Toy Trains and got featured at a Las Vegas trade show. The video became an instant hit among children and adults. We received orders from Blockbuster, Reader's Digest, Costco. It was amazing, Cheryl later said during an interview. People magazine gave it rave reviews, marketing it as part of the 10 best videos of the year. Due to the success of the first show, it was imminent that a second part should be made. And so, that happened. Then a third part was made. And a fourth one. By part 3, Jeff himself started narrating the show. I read the line with the emphasis on the right words, and he would repeat it just the way I said it. Then I'd just edit my voice out and it sounded just like Jeff read the script perfectly. Today, there are over 15 I Love Toy Train shows, all extremely successful, although they are very different from the original productions that got the series off its feet. In this analysis series, I am going to take an in-depth look at the first 3 I Love Toy Trains videos, which are considered by some, myself included, to be the best shows in the series. So, let's begin with the video that started it all. The rough cuts of the early I Love Toy Trains videos produced prior to the acquisition of digital editing software were done using professional U-matic editing machines. The tapes themselves were studio standard 3/4-inch videotape housed in a large cassette. Footage was acquired by recording to a tape using an M7 U-matic camera with a cable hooked up to a video deck. A lot of the footage in parts 1 through 3 was taken from TM's previous productions, including Great Toy Train Layouts and Toy Train Review. But some new material was shot as well, specifically for part 1. We are 5 miles from the Heston Steam Museum, where they have 3 sizes of live steam trains running through the woods. Required lots of footage there. Chris Scruns was Tom's online editor at the time. At his studio, fades, dissolves, special effects, music, and sound effects were added to flesh out the rest of the production. Quote, "We had lots of fun, many more laughs than working on a sober hobby film. The result of all this work is a very randomly structured and unusual piece of video entertainment. It makes absolutely no sense, and I love every minute of it. We had no direction in mind. It was all improvised," McComas said. He also recalled that the leftover outtake footage from Great Toy Train Layouts provided a warehouse of material for cutaway shots on the I Love Toy Trains videos. An example of this is when famed Disney animator Ward Kimball rings the bell of his live steam locomotive to open every show. An iconic staple of the I Love Toy Train series is the use of various stock train sounds. Immediately after the opening to part 1, you can hear American Flyer's talking station playing back a record. The sounds mostly came from the whistles, bells, diesel horns, and choo-choo effects Lionel had. American Flyer had a talking station. I used it extensively. This is followed by footage of a Pennsylvania steam turbine racing around a model of the Horseshoe Curve, providing a fitting introduction of what's to come. The next interesting thing about part 1 is that it introduces the popular "Oh no" segments. It was what we said around the house when something went wrong. That's Cheryl's voice saying, "Oh no," Tom recalls. "I never took the hobby seriously like some guys do, so I had lots of fun filming the milk cans going all over the place, logs getting jammed up, trains falling off a bridge, and other oh no spots." Yup, believe it or not, many accessories made in the 40s won't be your old reliables when it comes to playing trains. Following Oh No is a boatload of content that I will not be able to examine in its entirety, so I'm going to pick out the highlights. The segments containing Fred Holstein's guitar score as background music are some of my favorites in the series. In the 1993 release of Part 1, this segment focuses more on things like sports and country life rather than trains. This was changed by the 1997 re-release. The editing isn't particularly heavy in this bit. It's mostly a montage of baseball from McComas' 16mm film collection and a train here and there. One of the things I always found odd about the early videos is how a stock sound effect would play, then it would be abruptly cut off by the actual audio accompanying the footage, or another sound effect. I feel it is a trademark of the show, and it sometimes yields very funny results. I also really like the color correction Chris Scruns did on the whole thing. There are a lot of dark tones, and if you're watching in a dark room, the relaxation just enhances itself. Then we cut to a fire. Another highlight comes shortly after this with the song Old Number 7 as background music. There's a lot of sound mixing with this one, as most of the model train footage is synced to audio recordings of real trains. This is another signature editing technique TM goes for in these videos. We also get more footage of animals. Previously in the production, Tom used a lot of shots consisting of cows doing I don't know what. Jeb must have really liked cows because they're everywhere in this show. Immediately after that is the only scripted segment of the first I Love Toy Trains, narrated by Lilia Brilson. Is that how you pronounce that? It isn't that interesting in my opinion, but it does promote good environmental citizenship.
We have to be careful not to cut down too many trees, because birds need trees to build their nests, and people need trees too.
Who's my favorite singer? Madonna.
Hey, does somebody want some jokes? I received an order for some jokes here, told by the funniest guys on the farm. We got Jerry, Lewis, Larry, what's your name? After a circus song with more funny animals, we are greeted to more animals. The reason this segment interests me is because of this last piece of footage before the fade out. For the life of me, I could never figure out why this chunk of video was looped a second time, but it's very funny nonetheless. There's also this stage clip of Ward Kimball's trains crashing into each other, and him freaking out. This scene was shortened in later releases of Part 1 because extending Ward's devastation over the situation might have been frightening to children. Still can't tell who came up with the idea to do this scene, Ward or Tom. The next scene includes a lot of quick jump cuts going back and forth between the American Flyer and Lionel milk cars. Things start to get ridiculous and milk cans start flying all over the place. Additionally, there is a brief moment of audio from this clip of the American Flyer milk car that plays at the wrong spot.
Oh no!
This was probably in an effort to add a sound effect to this first shot of Lionel's milk can falling down the stairs. Following is probably my favorite segment from this entire show, so be prepared for me to dive pretty deep into it. I don't know why I said it like that. The sound mixing is very well done here. It really grabs your attention how much audio is filling your ears. The haunting sound of a steam whistle, the sound of train cars jostling around, and the awful noise of Lionel's motorized tractor. There's a point where this scene of the miniature steam engines have their audio tracks sped up slightly, giving it a higher pitch. This edit isn't very noticeable, as literally half a second after it plays, a new clip is shown. It's as if there's never only one sound playing during this sequence. For example, during the steam tractor scene, there's audio of an articulated steam locomotive struggling up a mountain in the background. This is all cut off at once by an audio recording of one of Heston's miniature steam locomotives blowing its whistle. The articulated steam sound resumes at full volume for a short period before switching to footage of a cab ride in Heston's 04OT switcher. I'm guessing this happened because the articulated locomotive sound was supposed to last longer, but the editors decided to audio dub a different sound over it. Because the added sound was cut short, there was still the original audio left over. Skip forward a bit through the segment and an instance of this happens again. When you're editing on analog, mistakes like this happen often, and going back to correct everything is a big challenge. It will sometimes require completely reassembling scenes together if something isn't right and you want the fix to be frame accurate. This action-packed segment finally ends with a whistle exchange between two locomotives and some more animals. Oh boy, here comes another oh no! This time it's fun with shipping containers! Even if this stuff is meant for little kids, the results of Toy Train accessories performing horribly still gets a kick out of me. Oh my gosh, how does this happen? All the oh no segments in this video are timed and executed quite nicely. The bulk of these parts relies solely on visual humor. Sure, you could add a silly sound effect, but it would make it feel too cartoony. You can tell Tom and Chris had a lot of fun putting these together. There's even a reversing gag in here. The common theme with music in part 1 is a class of 5th graders singing children's songs. Take a shot every time a rendition of Old MacDonald plays. As you can tell, each Old MacDonald scene cues footage of something relating to what the song says.
Has some barrels, has some chickens, has some coal.
I like all of these segments equally as much. They're mostly comprised of medium-paced jump cuts that highlight a satisfying amount of action. There's also some external sound effects that are paired nicely with the action on screen. Sometimes. The next significant part I want to talk about is Country Jamboree, which is the name of the song that plays during this segment. The editing is very basic, and to sum it up in its entirety, it's basically a model train montage with sound effects scattered throughout. The reason why this part is significant to many is because the later releases of this show change a large majority of the footage to must abstain from viewers with a keen eye. This is also apparent for the Wabash Cannonball sequence. Mr. McComas reported that by the time the 97 version of the tape was being produced, the original 1993 master was suffering from color fading and tape dropout. This wasn't the only reason footage was replaced in later releases, however. Tom said the following in an email. As we were getting so many great shots from our layout videos, our thought was to replace ordinary shots with spectacular new shots. Either way, interesting tidbit. There's also a scene in the 1993 version that got cut by the beginning of the 21st century. It's another, more intense train crash followed by a witch laughing evilly. Presumably this was removed out of concern for frightening children. They were already scarred enough by Ward Kimball. Wabash Cannonball essentially follows the same formula as the Country Jamboree segment. It has lyrics this time, though. Many fans of I Love Toy Trains have either praised or been looking for Fred Holstein's rendition of this classic folk song. Honestly, like his take on it. It's very calming.
Green and growing mountain to the south belt by the shore. She's mighty tall and handsome, known quite well by all. She's the regular combination, she's a Wabash Cannonball.
After that is a cutaway to this Chucky-looking character falling over while playing the saxophone. The audio is simply slowed down after it falls over, making it seem like he's struggling to play in his knockdown state, as is apparent with most motorized toys. Boy, did these guys have a sense of humor. Look at that freeze frame! For the final big highlight of this video, we take a good look at Bruce Manton's American Flyer layout in the dark. This is accompanied by two vintage station announcements overlapping each other. I believe the editors wanted to make the viewer picture a busy train station in the 1920s. They do this wonderfully, apart from a cutaway to this hilarious scene of cows walking at Mach 5. This, folks, is the closest TM Books and Video has ever gotten to making a YTP. In later versions, the footage was replaced with more fitting action of scanner gauge trains on Richard Kuhn's car rail layout with added sound.
Number 66, Pacific Coast Express, now leaving for San Bernardino, Riverside, Anaheim, Azusa, Cucamonga.
Definitely a wise decision there. Finally, this amazing experience closes out with a salute to the United States of America and a call back to the very beginning of the video. This is only on the 1993 version, by the way. Phew, that was a wild ride. So, what are my final thoughts? It may be pure nostalgia, but looking back, this first entry into the I Love Toy Train series was a brilliant display of editor creativity. There were no boundaries or directors outside of Tom McComas' team telling people what to do, and it showed off well. There's so much this entry did right, but things could definitely be improved. Man, did TM Books learn from their past experiences, because the second coming was just around the corner, and it would be better than anyone ever thought. Thank you all for watching this review/analysis. I'd like to give a huge thanks to Tom McComas and everyone else at his company for giving me all the information I needed for this video. Without your contributions, this production wouldn't have been possible. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, you can also leave a comment. Be sure to leave a like, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get updates on newer content.